listening to that V6.
Yep. All right. So
is it warmed up enough to
I think
hit the VTEC though?
I think we'll just find a safe place to do it, right?
So let me know, like, can you, like, what's the feasibility of importing, you know, like, so now we're in 2019, so in the U.S. we can import cars that are 25 years or older.
That's correct. That's right. Yeah, 25 years or older. I've been looking for fun. I'm not gonna do it, probably, right? Because I kind of like the U.S. domestic market, and the one that I like is just way beyond my budget. Right?
The Zanardi?
Right? Or actually the NSX-R.
Okay.
The R, right? Yeah. If I were to import it, what would be those? But again, it's I don't work for a crazy startup, right? I wish I would. Right?
What about a Type R though?
A Type R is also $250,000.
Really?
Yeah. A Type R is $250,000.
So what's the most budget one that you could import? That's like
the most budget one is probably like a pre-97, right? Maybe like 1991 model, 1992, and that. Probably we're looking at around you can go as low as 40,000, 30,000, something like that, right? Yeah.
If you import it, or
that's just to buy the car, but I don't know what else, right?
Because so is it even worth importing then? I mean,
I don't know.
Buy domestic?
Those I would buy domestic.
Yeah.
Right? Those I would buy domestic. But since we were discussing about just importing in general, what are some of the rules here?
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line rule that you need to be aware of: the car has to be at least 25 years old.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like a loophole in California law. Okay.
Wait, so even like, how does that work with smog then? You can.
That is what I'm not sure about, right? So if it's either that you have to either you might have to do maybe a simple smog check is okay, but the VIN is different, right?
Yeah.
There's other things that need to be different. But I did find a guy here that helped me kind of register a car from out of state. He kind of understands that, right? So if you're ever going to do it in the Bay Area, I know a guy that you can talk to, and he says he claims that he knows how to do this the registration part
for the 25-year-old.
Yeah, for a 25-year-old car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I've been thinking about Skylines.
Yeah, well, if you want to look at Skyline, it depends. What Skyline do you want? 32, 33, or 34?
Probably a 33.
33. Okay, 33 I think is coming up soon.
Yeah.
25 years, so you can kind of do it. 34, it's still, you need to
still gotta
be
wait.
at least like 2 more years, maybe 2 or 3 more years, right? I think the 33. But there are some places that I'll import it from you, right? There's one in California called Top Rank Imports in Southern California. Again, looks like we're giving them a free commercial in this video right here. Yeah, and then there's also the one that in the East Coast, it's called Duncan Imports. If you read Jalopnik, Jalopnik actually interviews them quite a lot because they have a lot of K cars. These are the cars that are 600cc, very, very funny cars.
Yeah.
And there's actually there's a Honda K car that has 600cc, but it's also mid-engine rear-wheel drive, called Honda Beat, B-E-A-T.
Oh, the Beat! I remember that from Gran Turismo.
Yep, the Beat has it, so you can kind of see that, right?
Can you turbo that?
I'm sure you can, but I don't know how you can fit it.
Or you put in like a CBR engine into that?
What's a CBR engine?
A motorcycle, Honda CBR 1000. I wonder if you could put a Honda motorcycle.
Well, it's 660cc, 600cc the limit, right? So if the space is enough, if you can someone make that room, you are correct. You can get the CBR 1000 RR.
I mean, you've got to think that the Honda reused some of the component. You know, it's probably close to a 600.
It's probably modular enough that you can actually put it, right? So that would like easily double your horsepower, maybe triple the horsepower with the CBR 1000 RR, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what, that's interesting. So again, there are ways to do this, but do your homework first. Look before you leap, as they always say, right?
Yes.
Because I've read horror stories. Like people love the Nissan Silvia S15, which is the 240SX, the next generation, right?
Oh, that's one of my favorite cars.
Yeah, and it's a great drifting car, but guess what? It got crushed.
What?
Yeah, because they tried to import it illegally, and then DMV said, we have none of this. We won't not do this, and we are going, and they crushed it. They crushed it. Right?
Reasons to move out of California.
Exactly, yeah. Supposedly one state, if you want to move out of California, one state that has a pretty good loophole, I heard, it will be the state of Virginia.
Virginia?
Yeah, Duncan Imports in Virginia. There's something about the state of Virginia that I don't know of, that have to do that. All right, so I think we can go to the freeway.
All right, let's hear this thing sing.
Another thing I noticed about this engine is very smooth. It's very linear.
Yes.
I would say even felt more linear than the Integra Type R. Right? Maybe it's just a V6 thing because there's
two more cylinders.
Two more cylinders, and also the face, right? It's also the face of the rotation of the right? Because you divided 360 divided by 6, it's fewer than 360 divided by 4.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
The phasing of the engine. What RPM does the
so the VTEC sort of kick in? 5,700. Okay, this one, right? So we're borders. You can hear it kind of start roaring, right?
Yeah, definitely a different sound there. And that's an 8,000 RPM red line, right?
Yeah, 8,000 RPM red line. The 3.0 liter, I think, is slightly higher, right? Again, smaller. If you got smaller displacement, have higher ref. That's kind of rural.
Yep. Because they basically use the same block with a different bore and stroke, right?
Right.
Same thing for the S2000s, right? The AP1, the earlier one.
And there's also an AP2, right?
Yeah, versus the 2.2 liter in the AP2. It seems like this is a really smooth driving car.
It is, yeah. It's still relatively loud, I felt, right? You can also hear the road. It's kind of like the Type R, but I think it's slightly softer than the Type R.
I mean, this is pretty luxurious.
That's true compared to
yes,
for our taste too, right?
Yes.
But, although it is kind of funny, right? Another comment that I made about this car was that this is supposed to be a luxury car, but technically it's a sports car. This one in Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. And the other legendary car around this time frame here it will be the Lexus LS 400, right?
Yes.
That's Toyota went to a different direction in terms of what they decide to invest their money on, right? Yeah, but the LS 400 interior is much better than this because my dad had one. He had one of the early model. So
they were going up against Mercedes and BMW there.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a very different thing. I think for Acura was more like the the performance type of thing a little bit.
Yeah,
like luxury performance.
F1, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Senna.
That's correct. That's actually the big hint here, right? This car was the suspension was tuned by Ayrton Senna. We'll talk more about it after we hear the glorious V6, as some people like to call it. Okay, so make sure it's clear right now because.
Talk over that.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about Ayrton Senna, right? Ayrton Senna, probably by far, it's probably one of the greatest F1 car driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he was. This is probably about 1989 or 1988. He was racing for McLaren Honda team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was invited to Suzuka because at Suzuka racetrack they were testing the new McLaren Honda car, and then the Honda engineers in the development program here decided to invite, hey, can you test out our cars? And he did. He tested it out, and his comment was, the car could be it's a great car, but it felt a little fragile. He was trying to be nice to the Japanese, right? The Japanese engineers were actually shocked because they thought they were going to get braces, right? But the engineers took Senna's word, and they decided to modify the chassis so it's 50% stiffer, right? And that's why I think sometimes there's two versions of the first generation NSX, the NA1 and NA2. The NA2 is the one with the 3.2 liter, right? But NA1 is the one that I think is definitely more popular in the used car market, right?
They're more plentiful, right?
Excuse me, because
they're more plentiful, right?
They're more plentiful. That's one. That's true, right?
And they're cheaper.
They're cheaper, but there's also like the hard top, right? Again, it's the that's kind of what we have about it, right? So, but again, it's overall it's a great car. So I have not compared it with the NA1, obviously, right? So I don't know yet, but I can tell you that other things that I learned after driving this and driving many years Integra Type R, I do appreciate. Well, first of all, that the project lead for the Type R modification is the same guy who did the project lead for this, right? Shigeru Uehara. But what I really appreciate is how much they put the thought for the Integra Type R, right? Because it could handle pretty well. It could keep up. Granted, it doesn't have the same power, but it could handle pretty well, right? So it's yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. That's kind of what it is.
Well, hey, we'll probably wrap this up. We're pulling off the freeway, but let us know what you guys think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you next time.